Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. And this is where I like to talk about some older comics, take a look at the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, I want to take a look at this book. This is Marvel 2-in-1 number 67, featuring The Thing versus Hyperion from 1980 from Marvel Comics. And before I do that, I want to ask you, now I usually do this at the end. Now, this time I want to try doing this at the beginning. Please, if you like this, please like, share, and subscribe, and please do leave a comment down below. All that helps me with the dreaded YouTube algorithm. And I like to read the comments, so please do so. And I also want to make a little recommendation for another YouTube channel, which is known as Larry's Library. Yeah, it's Larry's Library. I like his stuff, a lot of his comic stuff. Talking about comics, talks about some other stuff too. And here in this issue, Marvel 2-in-1 number 67. Okay, Marvel 2-in-1, of course, is an American comic book series from Marvel Comics, which features the Fantastic Four's Thing in a series of team-ups. And it ran from Volume 1, anyway, ran from 1974 to 1983. Ran for 100 issues plus 7 annuals. It had a long string of creative teams over its run. Although artist Ron Wilson has a long association with the title. It even had a crossover with Marvel's team-up with Spidey. And when the title ended, the Thing got his own solo series. So now the artist, and the interior artist in this, I'm not sure if he did the cover or not, was Ron Wilson, who's an American comic artist and known for his work at Marvel, primarily the titles featuring The Thing. Yeah, I always liked his version of The Thing for a long time. He spent 11 years following The Thing through various titles. He co-created the Wolfpack with Larry Hama. And Wilson started at Marvel in the early 70s and did 2-in-1 as well as Black Goliath, Power Man, the Hulk, and Captain Britain. He did the Super Boxers graphic novel. I really liked that. I had it. I should still have it someplace. I don't know. And I really liked his work on there. And he was on the run of the Masters of the Universe featuring He-Man. And later, he did he worked on the WCW World Championship Wrestling comic book. So Ron Wilson had a long association with our ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. And and his a nice dynamic style. His and a lot of his work is very much in the Kirby vein, and all his figures were big and bulky, and usually it looks good, except for Reed Richards. Reed Richards should not be built that way. They got Reed Richards looking like Captain America. But otherwise, he does a great job. Then before we get into the pages, I want to remind you that if you would like, I can do character cards for you, like this, or some of other little drawing needs like that you may have. These are 5" by 8" character cards. I can do them larger, I can do them smaller if you want. Featuring a comic book, comic strip, cartoon, science fiction characters, whatever you need, at a real reasonable price. Just contact me here at my email address, just as you see there, and we'll see what I can do for you. And here we have The Thing versus Hyperion. Okay, this is not too long ago. I did an episode about the Squadron Supreme, and one of the characters in the Squadron Supreme, the Superman analog, is Hyperion. This ain't him. This ain't that Hyperion. This is Hyperion from an alternate dimension, alternate universe, and this is the guy who was part of the Squadron Sinister. So, let's take a look inside here. Boom. Start right off this great splash page. It's not dynamic, but it is impressive. This is right after the end of the previous issue. This is Passport to Oblivion, in which the Thing is at the Pegasus Project, and this is I'm suddenly drawing a blank for this character's name. He was Marvel Boy back in the 50s, and this Project Pegasus, and I know this guy, I just can't think of his name. It'll come to me. How silly, of course, Quasar. And he is the head of security and stuff at this government facility, this Project Pegasus, and he has been enemies and allies with the Thing and the Fantastic Four. And he's dropping off this gizmo. He got wrapped up in some steel, the Serpent Crown, because it corrupts anybody who touches it. So don't touch it. Wrap it up in steel, and you don't touch it. And he's dropped that off for safekeeping. He said, "No, don't." They want to study it. No, don't study it. And they have this gizmo set up so it can be held safely. And Quasar invites him for lunch in their cafeteria, and he sees get all his trays. So the Thing has a big appetite. He has all these trays just overloaded with food. And then Black Goliath makes an appearance. He is here because he has some health issue, and he is I can't remember what it is. And he later passes away. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with that or something else. And I think he's stuck at a large size. Anyway, see here you can see this nice changing to Thundra, who was an occasional pop-up character in this title. And just look at the really nice background cityscape that Ron Wilson did here. And she is walking out talking with. She's been both an enemy and an ally. She's from another universe, and she's kind of stuck here. She wants to get back to her own. And she, like I said, she's been an enemy and an ally, and she's working in professional wrestling. And apparently, so is Hyperion. He was part of the bad guy. He's kind of iffy, and I think he's still a really bad guy. At one point, they both wanted to destroy the Earth and this universe. That's all complicated, and he's taking her to. See, she had been hired to break into that Pegasus facility for something I forgot what. It doesn't really matter, but she doesn't know who actually hired her for it, and now Hyperion is taking her to these guys, and here to have a flashback to when Hyperion was in a previous event, and they're thinking to these guys. I forgot what they call their little association here, but here they're discussing the alternate universes. And then we see this character. He just looks like an evil character. He's a mad scientist type, and they want her to do something, and in payment, they will send her back to her own universe. And here's the gizmo that word evil scientist-looking guy created. Is this? And the viewer, she can see her own dimension. Her own universe, and this projector will project her into that universe. So, that's what she wants. And here, Van Grimm returning to the Fantastic Four, the Baxter Building, and using the pogo plane. And here's where we see the overly bulky Reed Richards, because Reed really should not look that bulky. But it is well done, and I like Ron's work on here. Then they were talking about him breaking up with his girlfriend Alicia, and Reed convinced him, well, let her make her own choice, because he was concerned about her safety. So he's got the flowers, and he's dressed up in his hat and overcoat, and going to go see Alicia. And there she is leaving with somebody. It's only been a week, and she's already got another beau. Well, he's all bummed out, thinking, oh, it's all crazy. Tosses the flowers away, and off he goes. Meanwhile, we're showing back at the bad guy's place, their hideout, with Thundra and Hyperion, and to convince her that the stuff, because she wants to make sure that the thing really works, the mad doctor's type projects himself into her universe, and then you can see on the viewer where he is there in her universe. So she's great. So she grabs the gizmo and zaps the other two guys, sending them there, and then she takes off with the thing, and tries to zap Hyperion. He hops out of the way, and you can see all this is very, very Kirby-esque art at this point. And so is this panel, very Kirby-esque. So she's taken off with this gizmo. Meanwhile, Hyperion is super speed, stops around in front, and she tries to zap him, and then gets through the wall into the subway. And he said, "Wait, stop! I'm not trying to stop you. I want to come with you. You go to your world. I want to go with you." Meanwhile, they send they send some of their bad guy troops out after him because there is a tracker on the gizmo. And here's Thing. He just happens to be walking down the street, heading back to the Baxter building, and boom, here comes Hyperion carrying Thundra, smashing up through the ground. Thing comes up to see what's what, and Hype, being on the rude side, shoves him aside and starts insulting him. Well, that really ticks off Benji, blue-eyed Benji here, and he takes a couple of wallops to Hyperion, and he starts walloping back, and he goes, "Damn, this guy's tough," because I don't think he's ever encountered Hyperion before himself. Meanwhile, here comes the bad guys, and they try to catch her with some kind of netting. Meanwhile, they're fighting for no real reason. And fortunately, it's an abandoned tenement that they destroy, but it's very nicely done. All this is very active, very dynamic. You get a view of the reactions of some of the people. Meanwhile, Thundra breaks loose of the knitting, and every 2 pages is a double-page ad. And I think Benji is getting the worst of this thing because Hyperion is tougher. Meanwhile, Thundra is fighting off these guys. She grabs the projector, says, "Oh," and he was telling her, Hyperion told her that there's a tracker on it, but if they don't get it back and in a certain amount of time, it's going to self-destruct. So we've only got seconds left. She says, "Thanks, Benji. I really like you." She gives him a little peck on the cheek, on the forehead. Says, "I'm going back to my own world," and opens the portal, and she steps into it. And Hyperion says, "Wait for me," and he goes after her, and then the gizmo self-destructs, and then there's Ben all by himself. The thing is gone because she was going to take it to Reed Richards to have him check it out, and that's it. And there's Benji all alone again, all by himself. Poor Ben. You can't help but feel sorry for him. And he was just trying to help, see what was what, and trying to help her out. And he got pulled into a brawl with Hyperion. But the brawl with Hyperion is kind of anticlimactic in comparison to the hype on the cover. But I like to see anybody in a brawl with the Thing is fun. But I would prefer, a little more to that story. But it was well written. I forgot who even wrote it. Who did I say? Oh, Mark Grunwald and Ralph Macchio. And I enjoyed reading it. It's a real fun read, and as all of these things are. It's always fun to have Thing team up with or fight against people. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Do you like Hyperion fighting Thing? Are you just a Thing fan? That doesn't sound right. Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for joining me. And remember, comics are art.